Krishna. So we will do it in English. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayati girim yat kripatam ham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram. So thank you so much everyone for joining and being patient until the English talk comes. So we will continue our discussion on Shikshashtakam text 3. Yesterday we spoke about how we have to be Trinadapi Sunichena. That means more humbler than the blade of grass. Okay. And today we will see the next part, that is Taroriva Sahishnuna. So we'll just recite this verse. Pranadapi sanuchena taroriva sahishnuna amanina manadena kirtaniyah sadahari. One who thinks himself lower than the grass, who is more tolerant than a tree, and who does not expect personal honor but is always prepared to give all respect to others, can very easily always chant the holy name of the Lord. So we are trying to reach to a stage where we can do Kirtaniya Sadahari. So yesterday we have seen Trinadapi Sunichena in terms of towards ourselves, towards our service, and towards Krishna. And today we will see the tolerance part. So the tolerance, the example is given is that like a tree, right? So why tree is the epitome of tolerance? Because it gives shade even to those who are going to cut down, right? So we never seen like, a tree is telling like, you came to cut me, so I will not give you the shade, right? I'll not give you the fruit. Even while snatching the fruit from the same tree, a person may cut that tree, but still he can have the same taste of that tree, right? So that much is tolerant the tree is. It makes no difference between friend and enemy. Similarly, a devotee who preaches, who practices Krishna consciousness, he should also have this kind of tolerance. He should not see an friend and enemy as a separate entity. Because when the Prahlad Maharaj was taking teachings from Shanda and Amarka, right, who are the sons of Shukracharya, who have to be and you have to be very aggressive with your enemies, like this they were giving the teachings. That time Prahlad Maharaj told, wait, this is wrong. Why this is wrong? Because Krishna is Suhrudam Sarva Bhutanam. He is the friend of all living beings, and I am also a living being. So if Krishna is friend of all living beings, that means Krishna is my friend also. So how can Krishna's friends will become my enemy? So it is not technically right. So everyone is actually friend only. There are no enemies. That's how you should tell, right? So similarly, when we are preaching, we should be very compassionate towards all, right? They may not be the right persons. They may not be good persons, but we can be right. We can be good, and we can be compassionate to give our Krishna consciousness. Even Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur says, like, we should expect the best for our worst enemies also, right? It's first thing is we should not have enemies. But if at any time you feel like some are my enemies, worst enemies and all, for them also you should think about the highest good, that is giving them the Krishna consciousness. Now, the definition of tolerance is somewhere given by Srila Prabhupada in the Krishna, the Supreme Personality of the Godhead book. So that was the summary of the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. In that 89th chapter, Srila Prabhupada gives a definition that one's greatness is estimated by the ability to tolerate provoking situations, right? So in this world, there is duality, right? Heat, cold, honor, dishonor, fair, unfair, happiness, distress, focus, distractions. This world is filled with the dualities, distractions, temptations, miseries, and all. And from the eyes we open in the morning to the night where we close our eyes, we are filled with dualities. And there will be many provoking situations, right? The people will be provoking, the situations will be provoking, things will irritate us, so many things will happen. But we have to be tolerant, right? So if you are not tolerant, you cannot achieve anything worthwhile, right? For even to achieve something material, we have to be tolerant, right? Now you think for material thing we have to be tolerant. The goal of Krishna consciousness is to have Krishna prema, or have Krishna going back home, back to Godhead. For that, how much tolerance we should have, right? So one of the other definition for tolerance is calling off our war against reality, right? So whatever is reality, we have to accept it, and we should not fight against it. So how we can understand this? Imagine that you are driving to an unknown destination and you have lost the track. Okay, you have landed somewhere very far from your destination. Okay, you try to ask to people about the address, you try to follow the GPS, but sometimes our time is so bad that even though we get good suggestions, good guidance, somewhere we take the wrong turn unnecessarily and we land up somewhere very far from our destination. So that time we will be frustrated, we will start blaming ourselves, we will start shouting on ourselves or the people with us. We may start thinking like, why did I decide to go to this destination? Right, I should have just sit at home and be peaceful, and you are frustrated now. So during that time, you have to accept that you are very far away from your destination. That is the reality. Now in this reality, you have to accept this reality and you have to do the course correction as soon as possible. You cannot waste your time and energy saying something against you or against others, or blaming yourself for others or GPS or the people who guided you. The best course of action is that you just check out the right way and just go, just move on. Right, sometimes in our relationships also, we do not understand why this person is behaving like this, why he will not understand. He is like this because of that person, my life is like this because of this person. So much of energy and time we waste in going against the reality. The reality is that this person can behave like this only. He may change with Krishna's mercy in future, but I cannot change him. I tried and now I have to accept that I cannot change. Now I just have to change my approach towards him. I cannot just keep on expecting him to change and make my life miserable by thinking about this. I have many other big things to focus on, so I will not get into this. So this is as actually tolerance, right? We are accepting what is reality and we are trying to do what is best, rather than we are just wasting our time thinking why this, why this, why this, right? So if we are really in the mode of goodness, the question of why will give us the answer, right? But in the mode of ignorance, we do this why, and we want a very satisfying answer. See, sometimes in our life we cannot get satisfying answers, because our attitude should be to have answers, but our attitude should not be like, I want the answers that can satisfy me, right? Because some answers, some truth cannot satisfy us. It is very bitter truth we have to sometimes face, isn't it? So tolerance means I accept that this is reality. Now I will think about how to take a course correction, how to do the better action. Because sometimes more than the reality, sometimes going against the reality hurt us more, right? So imagine that you planned for an yatra, okay, and you wanted to go, you packed everything, you were ready to go, but something bad happened to you. Some flu came, or you fell down, some fracture happened, or somebody died in your family, or some or other thing happened because of which you cannot go to yatra. So that time, our mind, rather than helping us to cure the situation, cure our disease, it will start actually adding upon so much of masala. It will say like, see, every time this only happens. I plan something and something goes wrong. See, what is my mistake? Okay, why did this flu come to me right now? It could have come somewhere else. No, only to spoil my yatra. Last time also planned, this only happened. This time also this happened. My kismat is like that. My fortune is like that. Okay, my fate is like that. And this person is like that. That person is like that. Oh, that person would have not forced me to take something, have outside food, because of which I now am fell ill. So we sought beyond our control. And because of this, what will happen? Already bodily pain is there. Bodily suffering is going on. Rather than reducing that pain and suffering, we are just adding it. So the resentment often makes us go to take actions which can make the things more worst. Already you are in a bad situation. Now your thinking is making the things worse. So Sahishnuta, or the tolerance, means now you accept the reality that, okay, something bad has happened. Now my only thing that has to focus is how I can make these things right, rather than just blaming and complaining about the things. So we should not have the resentment. We should have the tolerance. Now, sometimes people will ask, tolerance means something passivity. That means we are just tolerating, we are not responding anyway. No, tolerance is not passivity, right? Tolerance means the right or proper course correction. right? So if we see in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna in 2.14 that matra sparshastu kaunteya shitoshna sukha dukkhadaha agama payino nityas tam stitikshasva bharato. He says cold, honor, and all of these are actually coming and going just like seasons. Right? So what you have to do? Tam stitikshasva bharata. That means you have to tolerate. Now, the same Krishna in 11.33, he says something opposite to that. He says, Tasmat tvamuttishta yasho labhasva jitva shatrun bhungshva rajyam samriddham Mai vaite nihatah purvam eva nimittamatram bhavasavyasachi. So you arise and fight and kill your enemies and enjoy the kingdom, right? So the Krishna who told to tolerate in 2.14 is telling don't tolerate and kill your enemies in 11.33. So how we can understand this? So one thing we have to understand is that there are some things which we have to tolerate and there are some things which we should not tolerate. So tolerance means knowing which one to tolerate, which is the one where I should not tolerate. Like the Dharma, Duryodhana has poisoned Bhima and thrown him into a river. Okay, so that time they had an opportunity. It was a provoking situation to become intolerant. But Yudhishthir Maharaj said, let us not make it big. Okay, it's a family matter, so just ignore it. When he actually tried to burn them alive in a house, Duryodhana, that time with the mercy of Krishna they could escape, but actually that time also it was the situation where they have to become intolerant for the injustice that what Duryodhana has done, but they did not fight back, right? But when at the last, when Krishna also went as a peace messenger, and that time Duryodhana said, like, the war has to happen, they should die. I will not give back even the place where you can, you put a needle, how much place will be there? This much only. That much also I'll not give to Pandavas. So when war was inevitable, that time only Pandavas became intolerable and they choose to fight. So Krishna is telling that, Arjuna, this fight is inevitable, this war is inevitable, and you have to kill them. While killing them, while being intolerant for this big cause, you have to tolerate your feelings, right? You may not feel good to kill them. You might feel like, a lot of sin you might accumulate, the Varna Sankara will be happen, or all the other problems which you think will happen. All of this you have to tolerate because this is the big cause which you have to fight for, and there is no choice. So to fight for a big cause, sometimes we have to tolerate some inconveniences. Just like if you have a disease, you should not tolerate, but while fighting against that disease, you might have to tolerate the bitter medicine, the injections that will pain you, or sometimes the surgery, the cut of the knife, okay, which a surgeon uses. Okay, so that is actually tolerate, we have to tolerate so that we can go continue our journey towards the health, right? So when we are fighting for a big thing, we have to tolerate some of the small things. So what tolerance tells us that, we should make small things small and we should let us focus on the big things. But the opposite of tolerance, what will happen? We are making every small matter as a big matter. If we let everything that happens matter, then we will not our life to make it happen what matters to us, right? So what does it mean? Like, sometimes for some people, every small thing is an issue, right? They will make a big issue out of a small thing. Sometimes we'll be wonder, like, it's a very small thing, why you are making so fuss about it, right? Why you can't just ignore it? But some people cannot, right? They will say, like, how you can do this, how you can say like this and all, and they will spend days and months and years in just solving them, right? So this happens when we don't have tolerance. See, we have three gunas, okay, the three modes we have inside our us. That is mode of goodness, mode of passion, and mode of ignorance. So this mode of passion has a lot of rajoguna, that means fighting nature it will have, right? Those who are like kshatriyas, they have high rajoguna, right? If they are not properly guided by the mode of goodness, people with mode of goodness, then what will happen? They will fight for anything and everything, right? So now what is happening in our Kali Yuga, we are not in the mode of goodness, mostly in the mode of passion and ignorance. And our passion is driven by our ignorance. Ignorance means like small, small things. So those who do not have anything big to fight in their life, they will make every small thing as a fight. Sometimes, if you are going on a road, and if some collision will happen with other vehicle and all, even though it is small, they will start fighting like a big thing. How can you do this, right? Can't you see, right? Is this the way you drive? Who gave you driving license, right? Who has let you to drive on the road? And then they will say, like, they come to their family, this, that, and all, and people will gather to see the fight and all. So we'll see, like, what is that thing? It is a small thing. And this guy has so much time in his life that he can spend hours together and so much of energy to shout at that person, to make this as a big issue. So why this is happening? Because when we are losing focus on the big things, every small thing becomes like a big entertainment for us, right? So when we are not tolerant, what happens is every small thing in our life will become big. Imagine if you are going for a very important meeting, and during that walk, if some of your colleague just touches you or just collide with you, then your mind may say, like, can't he see and walk, right? Maybe he wantedly gave me like poking like this. Okay, now when my time will come, now I will show to him. So your mind is making a small thing is also big thing. Actually, you're going for a very important meeting, your focus should be on meeting. Whatever rest of the things are there, that can be taken care later, isn't it? So an intolerant mind will make every small thing as a big thing. So much big that we will keep on thinking about these things for a very long time, and we will deviate from our path, right? So many times, in Telugu movies, generally there will be there where a person spends all his life to kill that one person. He plans, he does so many allies and association and all, only to plan his murder. Okay. Why? Because he killed someone in my family, he did something wrong. So my whole life agenda is to kill that person or hurt that person. Right? Sometimes we also take up so many goals, not because that is important, because I want to prove something to that person, right? So like this, what is happening? We are making the smallest issues also the biggest thing in our life. So we actually sometimes we feel like, what is the use of being tolerant, right? Many people are intolerant, they are doing as they wish and still they are enjoying life. Why I have to suffer like this by being tolerant, right? And people are taking things for granted, right? If I am tolerant, if I'm not saying anything, I'm not doing anything, they are thinking I am weak. Okay, I am meek, I am weak, and they are feeling like, I'm just useless, I'm just powerless. So I don't want people to feel like that. I want to do something, I want to say something. So like that also our mind will provoke. But actually, the price that we are paying by tolerance has to have focus on the price that we will get in the end, right? So there is price, PRIC, and there is price, PRIZE. So by being tolerant, what we can achieve? We can achieve Krishna, right? That is the biggest prize anyone can have. So we are not tolerant for some person or for some situation. We are tolerant because we want to achieve Krishna, right? Those who are not tolerant, those who are making every small thing in a big issue, those who are showing anger and living their life and still enjoying, all those people may look like that only because they don't have a bigger goal like us. We have a very big goal to achieve Krishna, and for Krishna, we can be tolerant, right? The other person may not respect our tolerance, may take things for granted, but I don't care, right? Because I care for Krishna. If I care this person, what in return I will get? Okay. This person, however, won't change. So why I should waste my time and energy for this person? Let me invest my time and energy for Krishna, right? So when we are focused on Krishna, we can understand what to tolerate, what not to tolerate. Just like Arjuna was not focusing on Krishna, then he felt like, my feelings are important. My knowledge about papa and punya is important, my knowledge about future is important, right? But when he started focusing on Krishna by surrendering onto him, he understood, like, my feelings, my knowledge, and my future estimation is not the only thing. The big thing is that I have to follow Krishna's instruction, because he knows what is the big thing, right? So when we are focusing on Krishna, we will get the clarity that what I have to tolerate, what I should not tolerate. Because sometimes when we talk about tolerance, people will say like, people are very rude, very bad. If they keep on doing whatever they are doing, how long we have to be tolerated and all. So if you want to increase your knowledge and intelligence about to know the difference between what to tolerate and what not to, you have to do this ABCD properly. You have to associate with the devotees, you have to read the books, because Shastras will tell us where to tolerate, where not to tolerate. And the chanting Krishna as a Chaitya Guru will inspire us to know what to tolerate and not. Now, Srila Prabhupada was given an instruction in 1933 that, he has to preach to in the Western world. Now, 1933 to 1965, he wasn't preaching in India only, and he was not getting any considerable support. But what happened after 1965 is the wonder of the world, right? He has established 108 temples and communities. He has had more than 5,000 disciples, and he has preached all over the world. He has turned on, that means he has roamed the globe 14 times in 12 years. So he was tolerant for all this 40 plus years. That is why he could make wonders, isn't it? So if you would have thought, like, Sumati Morarji, who gave him the free flight to Jaladuta on Jaladuta, she told like, Prabhupada, why you want to go to Western world, right? It is very cold, you are very old, you may die also there. So don't just become intolerant and go there. Okay, be tolerant and be here only. And you want to teach Bhagavatam now, you come to my house every day. I will sincerely listen every day 1 hour. You teach me. So Prabhupada would have thought, yeah, she's telling right only. If I go to Western world, who will accept me? Who will do what to me? Right? Why I should be so intolerant about this goal of going to preach in the Western world? I can be tolerant and stay in India only. No, no. Prabhupada said it is okay to tolerate heat and cold over there. It is okay to tolerate the respect and disrespect over there. It is okay to tolerate the poverty over there, the struggle over there, but it is not okay to tolerate that I can give away my mission or my Guru Maharaj's order, right? So he was intolerant in giving up his instruction of his Guru Maharaj, but he was tolerant to do anything and everything which can achieve his goal, that is executing the order of my Guru Maharaj. So he was tolerant for the cold, respect, disrespect, the poverty, the struggle, the bodily pain, and everything. He was tolerant, but he was not tolerant to accept that, I can live on without preaching. Right. So Prabhupada sets an example that, where we have to focus on and what we have to tolerate. Now, this thing we can also implement in chanting and planning. See, sometimes while chanting, we get even the smallest issue, which we don't remember while other times, but we will remember while chanting. 5 years back, or sometimes 20 years back, someone took 20 rupees from us, he has not returned. That thing also will become a big issue while we are chanting. Now we'll feel like, while I was not chanting, this thing was not there in the mind. But while chanting, this stupid thing came, right? Who said what few years back in some function, in some situation? That also becomes a big issue for us. How can he say like that? How can he do like that and all? And someone's behavior which we don't remember while doing other things, which we will remember. You say, how can this person do like this to me? I have helped him so much. He has to be very nice with me. Why he is doing like that and all? Some or other thing will become big. Now the point here is, while chanting, Krishna is the big thing. While not chanting also, Krishna is the big thing. No big thing exists other than Krishna. So are we supposed to focus on all these things? Even if that person returns you 20 rupees, what difference it will make in your life? Even the person who has insulted you come to you, say sorry, and he will actually start respecting you. But will that take you to Godhead? Will that take you back home, back to Godhead? No, right? So every small thing which we are making big fuss about it is not going to add any value to our life, but still we will think about it. Why? Because we lost focus on the biggest thing of our life, right? So while planning also, see, always we have to remember that our plans may fail, but the planning will never fail. We should plan for the things, and it may happen that out of 10 things that we plan, 8 things may not work, right? But because we planned, at least 2 things will work now, and we actually know what has worked, what has not worked. If you are not planning, we don't know what has worked, what has not worked, right? So just like if we have decided that I will go out of my house and I will go to this place, if you have decided, then there is an estimation how much time it will take, whether you are late or early, how much was the distance, what was the plan and everything. It has sense. But if you are coming out of your house knowing nowhere, going nowhere without any plan, then you cannot know whether you are reaching on time or not, where you are reaching the right place or not, right? So just like sometimes when there is no traffic, we can move very fast. And when there is very much of traffic, heavy traffic, we may go slow. And sometimes 1 hour it may take to go 1 kilometer, but it may take only 10 minutes to go 10, 15 kilometers also. So in life, there will be dynamics which are changing, right? So if we are losing our tolerance level, if we are losing our patience, and we are saying that, every time I plan something, it is not happening. So what is the use of planning? Then what we are doing, we are becoming intolerant about the failures in our plan, right? So we have to be tolerant and we have to plan every time. And over a period of time, we'll become expert in that. So while chanting and while planning the things, we have to be tolerant. Otherwise, what will happen? We will not worthwhile anything. We will not achieve anything worthwhile. See, even to become an IITN or an IAS or IPS, there has to be a lot of tolerance. They go through very hard training. But you tell me, even if a person becomes an IITN, IPS, or IAS also, can he go back home, back to Godhead? Can he achieve Krishna? Can he be happy always? No, right? So for small, small things also, which are considered to be big by the material world, but from the spiritual perspective, it is still a small thing. So when we are trying to achieve Krishna, when we want to go back home, back to Godhead, then how much tolerance we should show, right? So if you have planned some activities, you have to be tolerant and you have to have different approaches. Like, for example, if you have decided that I want to read 5 verses of Srimad Bhagavatam, I'll read at least 20 minutes every day. Then in a week, how much you have to do? You have to do 35 shlokas, or you have to do around 140 minutes, right? So some days will be very busy, but some days will not be that busy. So what you have to do? You have to cover up, right? You cannot say that, I planned like in a week, 7 days I will read, but see, 2 days I could not do. And our mind will say, this is what you always do. You plan something, you don't do it. What is the use of planning? So don't read at all, right? So many people will start with some resolutions and all, then they give up. Why? Because they see some breaks. Actually, each one of us are busy. From the prime minister to beggar, everyone is busy. But prime minister is busy in big things, a beggar is busy in small things. So you have to choose, and you have to decide like where I will be busy and where I will be free. So if you don't have the knowledge of the small things and big things, what happens? Mostly you will become intolerant for the big things, sorry, small things, and you will become tolerant for the big things. It is okay to let go Krishna, but now the important matter is I want to solve this person issue, or I want to solve his behavior. How can he answer like this to me? I will show him what it is there. So we let go Krishna and we focus on the small things. So this is what happening in our life. That is why even though we practice Krishna consciousness for 15 years, 20 years, we don't see big change in our life. Why? Because we are in Krishna consciousness, but we are not Krishna conscious, right? So tolerance teaches us like, we have to focus on the big thing, and the biggest thing is Krishna. We should always long for the big things, and while longing, we should not be resentful. We should be hopeful and we should be tolerant. Like Prabhupada tried 40 plus years to preach. He has the longing to preach to the Western countries, but he was never resentful by seeing some bad results, right? So longing has to be so much strong that it should make us more and more tolerable. And this tolerance has to be in the mode of goodness. I'm tolerating because I have a bigger goal. I'm not tolerating because I cannot do anything. See, some people will tolerate because they cannot do anything and they're waiting for an opportunity. When my time comes, that time I will show you who I am. So that tolerance is mode of ignorance. Tolerance in mode of goodness means I am actually keeping my mouth shut because I have many better things to speak in somewhere else. I don't want to waste my time and energy over here, right? So that is in the mode of goodness. That is the mood of serving Krishna, right? I am not tolerant because of this person. No, I am tolerant because of Krishna. So I am showing my tolerance because this way I will build the muscle, right? So in future, when we are preaching in a big way, we have to face so many things. That time, if we don't have the tolerance muscle, what will happen? We will break down and we may make even more worse things, isn't it? So we have to be tolerant. Now, finally, we'll share the story of the tolerance and the example of this tree. So there was a king whose name was Maharaja Ranjit Singh, who was the king of Punjab. And one day he was going to just see what is happening in his kingdom. And he saw a tree. just very strong stone which is coming very fastly towards him, and it has hit him and he was bleeding. And he sent his associates to find out who did this attack, and they found out that there was a child who actually thrown the stone. Then the king told, bring that child. And while the child was going taken away from those associates of the king, his mother was saying, and his mother felt like, today my son is gone, because who will survive after attacking a king, right? And my son is like, he's a small boy. So she was very much worried. So she also followed, and the boy was standing in the front of the king in the assembly, and the king asked, "Oh child, why did you hit me?" Right? So then this child told like, "Oh Maharaj, actually I did not plan to hit you. I was actually throwing stones at the tree so that I can get the fruit. So there was a mango tree behind which you were traveling, and it has mistakenly attacked you, but I have no intention to beat you or to kill you with a stone or to make you bleed like that." So then this king thought for a while, and then he ordered his ministers or his servants that, please bring one basket of mangoes and give it to this boy. So everyone was surprised, like, they thought like king is very angry as he was bleeding, so he will punish this child, and everyone who is going against and does some mischievous thing like that has to be punished. So they were in that mood. But when they heard like, just supply one basket of mango fruits to this boy, everyone was stunned. And by seeing everyone's faces, this king told, I know that you must be thinking that I am gone crazy. Why I am giving fruits to this boy? But let me tell you, if this boy would have hit correctly to that tree, the tree would have given a fruit in return, right? So when he was hurting a tree, he actually expecting a fruit. And tree is so tolerant that by hitting with the stone, by getting a hit by stone also, it gives mango in return. Am I so worse than a tree that I will punish this boy because he hit me with a stone? And most importantly, he had no intention to hit me, right? So I want to show that I am tolerant than this tree. So if he would have hit properly, he would have got one fruit, but I will give him a basket of fruits, right? So this king is setting an example that when someone is hurting the tree intentionally also, he at the tree doesn't repel, doesn't resist, but it gives back the fruit. So when without any intention, by mistake, if he is hurting me, then is it not my duty that I have to be tolerant and give him what he could have get if would have hit? So the king is setting a so high example. Sometimes, we feel like people are hurting me, people are saying bad words about me, so I should also do something bad to them, right? So if we are start reciprocating in this way, nobody will survive in this world. We cannot do anyone good by doing bad things to them, right? And we can also not remain, because to do something bad to someone else, we have to start thinking bad, no? So when we are contained bad, where is our good thing will return sustain, isn't it? So this example shows that be tolerant than a tree, because a tree is tolerant and it always gives back good in return. So similarly, we as a devotee always try to give back good in return. Sometimes we may not, right? Sometimes we might not have the capacity to do good to others. So that time at least we can pray to them, right? We can pray for them that, Krishna, they are bad because they don't have you. They are bad because they are not Krishna conscious. So give your mercy, be compassionate towards them, and give your bhakti to them so that they can be good people. So if we cannot do good practically, actively, you can just pray, right? It is far better than thinking about some revenge fantasies to how to hurt them and how to get an opportunity to beat them or kill them and all that, isn't it? So this way we have to be tolerant. I'll just conclude it by revising what we have learned. So we have seen that the definition of tolerance is, one's greatness is estimated by the ability to tolerate provoking situation. And we have seen the two examples, like when we are just going away from the our path and we are land up in a very far away distance from our destination, that time, rather than just being intolerant and, crying, shouting, and being blaming and complaining, what we have to do, we have to do the course correction. And rather than just complaining about a person's behavior in relationship, we have to be tolerant. We have to see that what I can do, let me do that, rather than just thinking why this is happening, why this is happening. And we have also seen the yatra example, right? If we are planning and if the plan goes bad or if the plan fails, We should not increase our pain by resentment, but we have to be more tolerant and we have to reduce our pain and suffering, not increase, right? And provoking situations will come and there will be things which we have to tolerate, things which we should not tolerate. So we have seen the example how Krishna tells in 2.14 to tolerate, but 11.13 he says don't tolerate, just fight and kill your enemies. So the bigger things has to be intolerable, but the smaller things has to be tolerated. Now, what is big, what is small? If we have to know the difference, we have to follow the ABCD. Krishna will give us the intelligence, and the Shastras will give us the proper instruction and prescription what we have to follow and not. So if we are letting any small thing matter to us and we are making every small thing as a big thing in our life, then we don't have time for doing big things in our life, right? Those people who are not Krishna conscious, who are not having good sadachara, they might not have a bigger goal, but we have a bigger goal that we want to achieve Krishna. So Srila Prabhupada has shown tolerance in terms of cold, in terms of disrespect, in terms of poverty, in terms of struggle, all that. But he didn't show tolerance and he never thought like, okay, even if the preaching is not happening, it is okay. No, no, he was never tolerable to preaching. He was intolerable. He wanted that everyone should preach and the preaching has to happen. So bigger things not to be tolerated. Small things has to be tolerated. And the difference you will come to know when you follow ABCD. And finally, we have seen that how Maharaja Ranjit Singh has given away one basket of fruit because he wanted to show that he is actually tolerant than a tree, right? So similarly, we should give back good only, right? Not that someone is doing bad to us, we will also be bad. Okay, what is the use of being good? No, there is a big use, because the biggest prize that we have to focus on is if we are good, if we are tolerant, we can get Krishna, right? Krishna don't want people who can just quickly get evoked or provoked, right? Then he will say like, what is the use? Because today things are good, you are behaving good. Tomorrow one provoking situation will come, you'll become bad again. So we don't want situational people, right? We want people who can tolerate the small things and who can let others focus on big things and they themselves also focus on the big things. So like those people only Krishna will like, and he will take them back home, back to Godhead here, or he gives them all the mercy and all. So we have a big prize that we are aiming for, and we have to try to get that prize. And we have to try to get the tree. Why the tree, the epitome, and why it has to be given as an example? Because we should not become proud anytime. If we are able to tolerate certain things, we should not feel like, see, you should learn from me how to be tolerant and all, right? No, we should learn from the tree, right? If someone is coming and cutting your hand, you cannot be tolerant, right? But the tree will be tolerant. So this example is given so that we should not become proud and we should not feel like we are the epitome of tolerance. No, right? Humbler than the blade of grass, that is the epitome of example of humility. And tolerant than a tree, the tree is the epitome of the tolerance. So the tolerance and humility, this should be the standard. And what happens if we keep this standard? We'll keep on growing only. All right. So that is how Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is giving these two examples so that our growth should be consistent. We should be continuously growing only and going back home, back to Godhead as soon as possible. Okay. Shri Shri Shikshashtakam ki jai, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai. Now this Amani Namani Dena and Kirtaniya Sadahari, this tomorrow we will discuss in brief. Okay. Thank you so much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.